Welcome back to Backspace Academy. In this part 2 of our continuous integration and continuous delivery lab, we're going to be creating a code pipeline that is going to integrate between our GitHub repository and our Elastic Beanstalk environment so that we can have continuous delivery whenever we make changes to our code in that GitHub repository. So first off, we go to Services and Code Pipeline, and I'll just open that in a new tab so that I can get back to Elastic Beanstalk if I need to. Okay, so we need to first off create a pipeline. We'll give that pipeline a name. And we're going to allow CodePipeline service to create a new role for us so that it can access our resources. So we make sure that allow CodePipeline to create service role is checked there. We use our default location. So CodePipeline will create an artifact store, a bucket in our Amazon S3 account for our artifacts. So we'll click on Next. Now our source provider. Now we're going to be using GitHub, but if you click on this, you can see that there's a lot of different options there available. So we've got AWS Code Commit, which is pretty well exactly the same as GitHub. It's a Git repository, but it's hosted on AWS. We've also got the Amazon ECL, or the Elastic Container Service registry. So we can get an image from that and we can push that through in a code pipeline as well. Or we could also have our code located in an Amazon S3 bucket, but we're going to select GitHub. And once we select GitHub, we have a button here to connect to our GitHub account. So we click on that and we log into our account and we give CodePipeline permission there. And once we've done that, we can then select our repository. So we need to go back into our GitHub account now, and we go to our repository. So we just select on our account here and we go to your repositories and we find our AWS-Node.js-EB repository that we forked from Backspace Academy. And the name of it here, we just select up here. So we just copy all that and we'll paste that in. That is the name. And we're going to use the master branch. And we're going to use GitHub webhook. So we've got two options there. So AWS Code Pipeline can poll the GitHub repository for changes, or we can work the other way around so that GitHub can notify through an event, a webhook event, can notify CodePipeline whenever changes occur, which is a much better option. So we'll select that and click on Next. We're not going to implement a build stage in this, so we'll skip that build stage. But if there was a build process that needed to occur, we could do that here, but we're going to skip that. And we need to select where we're going to deploy to, who our deployment provider is. So there's a number of options there that we can deploy to. We've got CloudFormation, OpsWorks, Amazon ECS, but we're going to be deploying to Elastic Beanstalk. So we select that, and now we need to give CodePipeline the details of our application and environment. So select our application that we created and the environment that we created in Elastic Beanstalk. Once we've done that, we can click on Next, and we've completed that pipeline. So we've got our pipeline there, the name of it. It's going to be having an S3 bucket for the artifacts. It's going to create a service role there. We're going to be using GitHub, and it's not going to be polling for source changes. It's going to be using webhook events from GitHub to notify when these changes occur. We're not going to be having a build stage, and we're going to be using that Elastic Beanstalk environment to deploy to. Everything looks fine. Let's click on Create Pipeline. Okay, so that has started, and we'll give that a few minutes to finish its process and we'll come back to it. Okay, so after 5 or 10 minutes, we can see there 6 minutes ago it did that part of it, and 5 minutes. So around about 10 or 11 minutes, we've got this deployed. So what we can do is we can go back into Elastic Beanstalk, and we can click on our URL, and we can see there the background has changed. Now, if you find the background hasn't changed, it's most probably that the old page has been cached in your browser case. So just make sure that you delete your history from the last hour or two, or whenever you started the lab, and that will get you back in with this new lime green background. So what we're going to do is make a change to our code and see if that pushes through and changes the color again. So I'm just going to go into that repository, and if we go back into the AWS Node-EB or Node.js-EB repository, and if we go into static and app CSS, and we can edit this background color. So we just click on the edit button here, the pencil on the right, and we're going to change that to orange. And scroll down and just commit changes. Okay, so that should now push out through to our environment. So if we go back into our CodePipeline, and if we refresh this, there we can see that we've got a new deploy coming there. So it's picked up on that, and it's doing a new deployment there in progress. So again, after about 5 or 10 minutes, that change will be deployed out to our Elastic Beanstalk environment. Okay, so it's been only a couple of minutes or so, and it's already deployed that out. So if we go back into our code, or into our Elastic Beanstalk environment, we'll click on the URL. So it's still lime green. So if we refresh it, maybe, no, it's not working. So we'll just go into our history and change that. So I'm just going to clear browsing data for the last hour. And we just want to cached images and files that we want to clear. So if I refresh that now again, and there we can see we've got our orange background there. So that's all worked pretty good. We've pushed that change through. It's all working quite well. What we need to do now is that we need to go and clean everything up so we don't get a big bill. So we've got a highly available environment here. So we're going to have a load balancer. We're going to have more than one EC2 instance probably. So we need to make sure we delete that so that we don't get a big bill at the end of the month. So just close that. The first thing we need to do is that we need to delete this pipeline. So we click on Pipelines and Edit and Delete. Okay, so it's successfully been deleted. What we need to do now is delete that Elastic Beanstalk environment. So we go into Actions, Terminate Environment, and we just need to put the name of the environment in there. And terminate. And once that's terminated, we can then go into our CodePipeline, and we can actually delete the whole application. So we just delete that now. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this two-part lab, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.